This is Now Showing.
Hello and welcome to Now Showing.
I'm Beau.
I'm Ben.
And this podcast, we argue about movies.
And this week, it's a spoiler-filled discussion, as always, on the...
Get ready, Benoit. Get pumped.
It's all about Creed. It's a spin-off. It's a spin-off of Rocky Balboa. And take it away, Beau.
Creed picks up years after the Rocky saga ended. While I haven't seen the full series, I'm a big fan of the first three. And this left me a little apprehensive about the next installment in the Underdog Goes Big Time boxing franchise. Michael B. Jordan stars as Adonis Hollywood Johnson, the illegitimate child of Apollo Creed, the product of an affair not long before his death. And who better to train him than the Italian stallion himself, Rocky. The rest is a great ride of training montages, character exploration, and a dash of drama and relationship strain. The focus is most definitely on Adonis and Rocky and the relationship that they build in a very short time. Rocky as the father figure that Adonis never had, and Adonis as the son interested in boxing that Rocky never had. There are plenty of great interactions between the two, and the chemistry was very natural. The writers had a lot of fun with Rocky's simple intellect too. All in all, I had a freaking great time watching Creed. I don't know if I like it because of its own merits or because it's the Rocky story for the new age, but either way, this film gets 4 stars from me, and a surprising recommendation. You should totes see it.
Totes see it?
Totes see it.
Is that a new scale?
Sure.
You should sort of see it, totes see it, maybe... Oh, that's awful.
Absolutely see it.
That's awful. Well, hang on. So which ones have you seen?
I'm trying to tap the new age market, Benoit.
Trying to talk to the kids, huh?
Yeah.
The kids that aren't seeing Creed. Anyway, you haven't seen the whole series?
No.
Which ones have you seen?
I've seen 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, that's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen Rocky 5, and I didn't see... Was it just called Rocky Balboa?
Yeah, sometimes it's called Balboa, sometimes it's called Rocky Balboa.
Okay.
It's one of those ones with different titles in different places.
I heard it wasn't great.
Hey, number 6 is great. What?
Is it?
No. Oh, that's why, I'm disappointed you hadn't seen that one, because it's a good point of comparison, I reckon. Because, 1 and 2, he's fighting Creed. And it's a proper drama story. You know what I mean? 3 and 4, the films become a little bit silly. Where
Oh, come on. Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, I know. Fighting Dolph Lundgren in itself is cool, but the fact that he's like he's a Russian that's trained and given steroids and all this stuff, and he fights against essentially machines. He's punching bags and they're testing what his physical punch. I don't know. It just becomes a little bit corny as the series goes along. What it seemed like Rocky Balboa wanted to do was bring some legitimacy back to the series and sort of make it just a straight up drama again.
Okay.
And what it was he was sort of coming out of retirement essentially for one last fight.
Against who?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't remember? Not important.
Actually, he's a proper boxer. He's a real life boxer.
Okay.
And the final fight sequence of that. I'll take a step back. Overall, the film is really cool because it's a drama. It has problems in there that aren't just him fighting a Dolph Lundgren machine.
Hey! Number 3 had drama. Dolph Lundgren killed Apollo Creed.
No, Mr. T. Mr. T kills Apollo Creed.
No, Dolph Lundgren did.
Mr. T kills him.
No, Dolph Lundgren. That's the reason why he goes over to Russia.
No, that's number 4.
No.
Yeah, Dolph
Promise
Lundgren.
you. Look that shit
Mr.
up.
T kills him.
I will. We're keeping this in because I know I'm right.
Okay, fine. I'm gonna look it up right now. We're gonna pause for a second.
You're gonna come skulking back to this microphone and just be like, "I'm sorry, Beau. You were right." I'm sorry, Benoit. I'm just waiting for the words.
I've looked it up. And Apollo Creed gets killed by Lundgren. You're right. I'm sorry. I thought it was...
Damn! I haven't even watched the full series and I know more than you.
Then what does Mr. T do? I thought Mr. T killed Lundgren in 3.
No, Mr. T just obliterates Rocky because Rocky had the championship and he's just like, no, I got him. And then Mr. T comes out and then just wipes the floor with him. Yeah. And his trainer's like, well, shit, you're not up to par. You've gone complacent.
After Southpaw earlier in the year, I was not looking forward to Creed.
Neither was I, honestly.
The Southpaw seemed to be doing the same stuff. Like, it wanted to do a proper drama where the person's got these family problems and these life and it was just dull.
The boxing took a backseat to the drama, which was the main drive for the plot of Southpaw.
And so does Balboa. in Balboa, there's only like a 5-minute training sequence.
Yep.
Right near the end, and then it's seemingly one fight.
Okay.
And the
rest is just drama.
Yeah, and there's, there's probably one other sequence in the middle there, but it's not memorable.
Yeah.
And the final fight in Balboa is shot as if it's on, pay-per-view.
Okay.
So it's even interlaced, and it's not cinematic in that way. But Stallone made it so that it looks like you could download it, or that you could watch it and stream it on TV.
Yeah.
The fight looks a bit wet. Like whenever they punch each other, they're actually hitting each other. Like that was part of their motto when they went into it. They were going to actually contact, but it doesn't look as impressive as it should look in a film.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's interesting. The
So having
drama
it more
takes a front
realistic-
seat in Balboa. Yeah.
So having it more realistic actually detracted from the cinematic experience and the
for me.
feel of the punches.
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember like when we went to watch this, when we went into Creed, you were like, this better have a bloody montage. I'm not going to be happy.
Because once again, I'm sorry to keep comparing it to Balboa, but the training sequence in Balboa takes the step up. It's great. Even though it's only like 4 or 5 minutes long, there's a whole like mantra with it. The idea is that he doesn't have speed anymore. He has to go for raw power. And so what he does is he's holding like huge weights, and he's pulling like tires along, and it just seems like he's a mountain of a man that can take hits and stuff now. Whereas in the past the montages have always been about him sprinting along the beach and punching
It's
the air.
because he already had the power. He just needed the speed.
Oh, well,
that was when it was Apollo was training him. He had power, but he didn't have speed. He couldn't move around.
And there's that ridiculous scene on the beach where he finally beats Apollo in a sprint, and it's like he's beaten him once, and he's like, yeah, and he's like rubbing it in his face. The montage in Balboa in that way had like a purpose. It was, a new idea, a new spin on the whole thing. And in Creed, there's like 2 training sequences. It was amazing. And they didn't use the old Rocky theme. They sort of had a new Adonis Creed theme. And I'm okay with that because you could sense the vibe of the bum, bum, ba, da, ba, bum in the background, but it wasn't quite at the foreground.
Yeah, it was the theme. It was sort of interlaced around that theme, but was its own thing, which was great. I loved it.
Whereas Southpaw, nothing memorable about the training or the fights themselves. And so we would be remiss not to talk about, in the middle of Creed, there's the scene. There's a fight. It's not the big fight of the film, but it's one of the important, significant fights in his life.
Fuck, it was amazing.
And it's in one shot.
Ha!
And it's legitimately one shot. There weren't any fakes. And apparently that was like the first couple of days on set. And the Steadicam operator trained with the boxes, without the camera and stuff for a couple of days or whatever it was. Yeah. And it's incredible. And apparently it was Stallone's first day on set too. So, maybe, I don't know. Maybe they trained because he's only briefly in the background as it pans around to him. He yells something and it pans back to Creed and he's suddenly got like the blood all over his face. So presumably that's the bit where the makeup artists were coming in mid-shot and adjusting the makeup because he gets bloodier and more cuts on his face and stuff at the time.
That's so good.
And apparently there's only 2 bits of CGI in it. One where one punch didn't connect or something, and another one to augment the cut that's there on his face. They show it on screen. He gets hit. And it comes back and he's got the scar on his face. Yep. So presumably there's a little bit of touching and stuff there.
Punch was one of the ones that he got like one of the first hits to the face that sort of bounced back.
And in like a couple of minute long sequence, that's excusable. It's awesome. The whole thing was incredible.
It was the standout scene of this film. It was incredible.
And it takes place about halfway through. And I don't know, this sounds like a weird criticism, but it feels like it peaks too early. By having that mid-sequence, the scene in the middle of the film as a one-er, I was expecting the same thing for the final fight. In fact, there's a moment in the the final fight, spoilers, goes all 12 rounds.
Yeah.
And I thought there'd be different movements within it. So yeah, in that final sequence, somewhere near the middle, everything dims. And that's good because the background was composited in. Like they didn't have the thousands of people watching for the most of it. And it looks a little green screen.
Yeah.
You can see that they've got the first couple of rows of people.
Even I noticed the shift because when Creed first walks out or Adonis first walks out, it's all composited. and then there's like this flash of light across the camera, and then all of a sudden he's a little bit closer, and then all the people are now real in the first few rows.
Yeah.
And so,
It's like they had X number of extras, but they could only cover up the walkway. So they shot the walkway, and then they moved them all around, and then they shot the ring, and they pieced them together.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that you can see the seams like that. And there was a moment, like a couple of rounds in, when everything goes dim and it goes into slow motion, as if they've cranked the camera up to 100 frames and it's dimmed everything, and you can only see the first couple of rows. And I was like, oh shit, this is where they're gonna bring out the techniques again. This is where they're gonna bring out another oneer for the final round. Like, how cool would it have been if the last round, 12th round, was a oneer again? Oh, it would have been so cool. But it doesn't seem to last that long. It goes dim. You can only see the first couple of rows. It's in slow motion for a little bit, and then I think it gets punched and it goes back into normal speed again.
Yeah,
and the background comes back in.
Yeah,
and
it's because it's more to reflect his mentality. You know, it was he sort of started phasing out the rest of the crowd and was just focused on him.
And I sort of wish the last couple of rounds were like that. You know, if it was no longer green screened or composited together, and if it was real, that would have been more impressive. It's like the fight in the middle of the film was a lot more impressive than the fight at the end of the film.
Yes,
I can't remember.
I would 100% agree with that.
I can't remember too many visuals from the last fight. Obviously, it's more about the story at that point.
But if they wanted to reflect the original Rocky, which it 100% does, you know, it goes 12 rounds.
The story is almost the same.
Oh yeah, identical. Almost identical. Just again, spoilers. It goes 12 rounds, and then by split decision, the original champion wins again, and Creed loses. But he sort of won the spirit.
The audience vote. Yeah, everyone's chanting his name by the end. And that was so good. I should have seen it coming. But when they're all chanting Creed in the end, and he's accepting it, and like he's accepting that they're chanting for him, not for his father or for the namesake. I was like, I should have seen that coming, but that's great.
No, and I think you couldn't have that final fight in a one shot because 12 freaking rounds, no way.
Oh no, but I thought just like the last round.
Yeah, the last round maybe, but I think they.
But that's the thing.
They wanted
like
it to
peaked
be
early, you know, like peaked in the middle of the film.
I think they wanted it to have more reminiscent of the original Rocky though, which obviously wasn't like that. But they did still show off some of the newer techniques in that earlier fight. I don't think that necessarily means that, you know, they peaked too early. That was 100% the defining scene of the film. Absolutely. But I would see this... I see Creed as kind of more of an homage to the original Rocky, bringing it into 2015 and making it a film that people can get on board with and watch, who are our age and younger. You know, the newer generation. So there's going to be the older generation that are going to be like, man, I love the Rocky series. This was my jam, like my dad. He's a massive Rocky fan.
Yeah,
and they can take...
Me and Beau went to go see it with Beau's dad. It was awesome.
and then...
What'd you think, Beau? What'd you think, Beau's dad?
and I think so they can take their kids there and be like, you know, point out all the homages and the callbacks to the original Rocky.
What do you mean, like 10-year-olds? You could be like this one day, son. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying you can be like this. You
can leave your high-profile job and go fight in Mexico all you want.
This is the story that was like one of the great films of my generation, and now I'm going to show you this is the lead on.
If you're speaking like your dad, you have to put on your dad voice.
Can't do that.
Yes, you can.
I'm not masculine enough.
Now, Beau, this was one of the defining films of my generation.
Thank you. You're so right, Dad.
Here, have $50.
Yes. But no, it's. I think this is something for the fans of the original Rocky to take people who might not have seen the Rocky series, or it was like watching an old movie that you can't quite connect with. This is basically making it present. This is making it modern, and it's putting a twist that is a little more current than the old Rocky storyline.
You mean by the new techniques?
Not just, yes, the new techniques.
By the fact that the film looks better?
Yep, that as well. But also some of the characters had a bit more to do. It's a little bit more... It deals with issues and it deals with these characters in a much more present way. Because if you remember Adrian, back in Rocky, she worked in a pet store. She was very shy and very softly spoken, like as portrayed as a woman, which is not a great way to portray women nowadays. You know?
Good.
So they've the
Beau was
female-
treading on eggshells halfway through that sentence. I could see. He was like, "How do I say this that's not offensive? How do I say this that's what they're trying to? That's what they were trying to do, and that's what they succeeded at doing." But in this film, the girl is not just the love interest.
Exactly. She has her own career. She has her own identity, and she is incredibly confident in who she is.
There was one. There was one moment where they sort of cut a corner, I think, though, with that. I really enjoyed the fact that they were both up and comers in their own way.
Yep.
In that you could see they were standouts and they had skill, him as a boxer and her as a performer. And you could see that they both felt the impending timeline that they had to work with. For example, Adonis, I don't know, only has 10 years to potentially... He has to pursue a professional career now. And she has to pursue her music now because she will be deaf in... whatever years.
Yep.
And I thought that was
a degenerating disease.
I thought that was a great mirroring of the two of them. But they cut a corner later on when she's angry at him because he's sort of ruined one evening in
he let his emotions play out. He basically went super aggressive and primal instinct sort of thing and just started beating on a dude that happened to be the headliner for who she was, at the venue that she was playing at.
Which is completely understandable in the story, and it was a really good moment that made him all on his own, because Rocky's no longer in the picture, she's no longer in the picture, he's doing the journey on his own, which was fantastic. The thing was that they cut the corner after that, where they had her reconciliation with him off screen.
Yep.
She arrives back at the door, and she's all gooey-eyed again, and she walks in, the implication is they're back together. And I thought that was a really weak way of doing it. It was like there was a scene missing.
Yeah, it's basically like Rocky asked her to come back, and she goes, "Well, if Rocky's asking, all right, I'll forgive him."
Yeah, and it sort of takes all her agency out of it.
Yep.
All of her
power out of
which
the
is
relationship.
unfortunate because earlier on in the film she had a lot of the power. She was awesome. She was great.
Yeah.
But that is a good example of how they've sort of modernized it.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's still the same story as the original Rocky, but with a more modern and present worldview.
And also, I wasn't keen to see this film, and I had a look at the IMDb stuff
Neither did
beforehand, and I was reminded that Stallone's in it, and I was thinking he's going to be in it for like one scene. But no, he is the driving force behind the whole film.
Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone are the two key characters in the entire film.
Yeah, it's a buddy film.
Yeah, it really is.
And it works on so many levels that Stallone now gets to hang out with Creed again, and he sees elements of him that he saw in his father, and so they mirror some of those sequences together.
Yep.
Every time the two of them are in a two-shot, it feels significant or important. It feels like they've just got great comic timing, or like they turn to each other and they play off one another. And
Just
it felt
the
like
chemistry in
scenes,
general is so good.
But what was fantastic about that was that Rocky wasn't just in it to say, "Hey kids, come and see this film," because Stallone's in it, and it's actually a spin-off. It's that he was the driving force. He gets sick 2/3 of the way through the film, and it feels so natural and organic to the film. It feels like something had to affect Jordan's life to make him waver from the path, and it feels so organic and natural that it was that it was Rocky getting sick that did it. It just, I don't know, it just ties in so well.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And when he was going through, so Stallone gets diagnosed with cancer, so it's or lymphoma, which is a type of cancer. And now this is actually a question that I wanted to ask you. Did in Rocky 5 or 6, did Adrian get cancer and then go through chemo and then die?
Oh, I can't remember too well.
Because
I can tell you she's dead.
In Balboa?
Yeah. She's gone in Balboa.
Okay, so but you and I
think.
neither of us got through 5, so it could have happened in 5.
I think this is a mystery for the ages.
Okay.
I don't think anyone out there knows this.
I don't know if it was on screen or if this was just assumed in between the or
it happened at some stage.
Yeah, established in between. But basically, Adrian was diagnosed with cancer as well, went through chemo, and apparently it didn't work, and she died anyway. So that was Rocky's predisposition to, well, she died anyway and went through all this terrible chemo, lost her hair, and went through all that bad stuff. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let it take me, which I thought was a great way for, especially Rocky's character, because he is a very simple man. You know, it's like, this is what I've seen happen. You know, I'm not going to take other people's word for it. You know, just because the doctor says that this is what we need to do, I haven't seen it work, and that's what I'm going to believe. That was such a real reaction, I thought, from Rocky. What I thought was an unreal reaction was that Michael B. Jordan comes in to reconcile with Rocky and says, "I'm not going to fight unless you fight."
Why? Why was that? That was good.
I thought that was quick. But it was so quick. It was basically like all of Rocky's fear of chemotherapy and going through what he saw his wife go through only to end up dead anyway. All that fear is just all of a sudden just vanished away and gone. And he goes, fine, yes, agreed. After a 15-second speech from Michael B. Jordan.
No, it's more than that. It's more than that. I'm struggling to remember why now. But at the time of watching it, it made sense. At the time of watching it, I was like, oh yeah, I can deal with that.
Michael B. Jordan comes inside as Rocky's already got dinner prepared for him and is eating it, as well as extra prepared for...
It makes sense. I don't know why. It makes sense.
It just does.
It does. Because if Creed wasn't there, he wouldn't have felt the need to keep going on. He was...
Well, yeah, that's true. Creed fulfilled that son role.
He felt like he was done
Rocky
after Rocky Balboa. I mean, you know, after that stage in his life. Here's a big plot hole.
Okay.
On what you were saying about Stallone being a bit of a simple guy. He goes to Adrian's grave a lot, and he reads the newspaper, and he opens it up and says, "Oh, what's happening today?"
Yeah.
Later on, or the early, like, you know, at different points of the film, it's still established that he's a little bit illiterate, as he has been throughout the series. Do illiterate people read the newspaper casually all the time? I don't think they do. If you're reading all the time, you're learning how to spell stuff.
No, it's not that he's illiterate. It's just that
he couldn't spell shadow.
Yeah,
he couldn't remember the shadow has a W.
With a W.
Yeah, he couldn't remember it has a W on the end.
Shadow boxing.
There's a W.
And then that great moment of like, he writes it all out on paper, and then Michael B. Jordan just takes out his phone, takes a photo of it, and then goes, "Cool, thanks," and starts running off. And he's like, "Don't you want this?" And he's just like, "No, it's already up in the cloud."
And he looks up and he gets confused.
What's in the cloud?
But yeah, I don't know. I thought they were saying, oh, he can read now. I thought that was a big bit about why he was...
Yes, he can read.
He can read, but he can't write.
He still struggles to spell things correctly, but he was still writing. It was just that, you know, he might have misspelled a couple of things.
On the tricky words, like shadow.
Exactly.
Shadow, that he spells a lot with shadow. I don't know. That seems like a plot hole. It seems like a plot hole.
Let it happen. Okay. Let it happen.
Yeah, you're right. I'm nitpicking now. Because overall,
it was
so
great.
Solid.
It is a great time. I mean, I think the writers had a great time with I think the writers had a lot of fun with the way that, you know, some of Rocky's or Sylvester Stallone's one-liners, not only with that spelling thing, but with, you know, like when Michael B. Jordan catches a chicken, he's like, "Oh, chickens must be getting slower."
Yeah, there's some really good fun stuff like that.
And yeah, it really, when you said just before that it's like a buddy film, it honestly is. I didn't actually sort of realize that until now, but it really is a buddy film between Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone. Well, not an old couple. It's more of
odd couple.
Oh, an odd couple. Yes.
You take two people and you make them as different as you can, but have them have one common goal.
But it's not just the common goal; it's that they sort of replace missing family members for each other.
Yeah.
You know, the son didn't want to be in Philadelphia and didn't want to box and wanted to go off and do his own thing, so now he lives in Canada. So Rocky's alone.
My least favorite scene was approaching the end fight. And it turns into a music video as the bad guy comes out.
Wait, that was your least favorite?
I know you like that.
I fucking love that.
We try not to say anything to each other after the films until this podcast, but you couldn't contain yourself.
It was so good.
And I had to bite my tongue at the time. As we're riding down those escalators towards the cars, I had to not say anything because that was so lame. It goes black and then smoke comes out and then lights come through the smoke.
Fucking
and
awesome.
then it's slow motion. It was just a music video. And it felt so lame and small. It felt like it was done in a tiny little studio.
Who are you, Benoit?
It was lame. It would have been so much cooler if you just walked out through the crowd. It was too fake and, oh guys, this is an awesome moment. Here, let's try and make it look awesome. But it didn't
awesome
work.
Moment and it did look awesome.
I
Shut
disagree.
the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about.
That was the weakest moment for me in the entire film. That was a moment where I realized I was watching a film.
That was
and it went,
that was
lame.
actually one of my favorite moments. That was so good.
Oh, actually, sorry. The very lamest thing that happens in the film is the opening sequence. It's the young Creed. He doesn't know his name's Creed at the time. And it does something like in juvie, and he says something like, "What was his name?" and it slams to the title, and it's got like this boom. And it was like a trailer. It was more like the trailer than the film.
Yeah.
In that you could imagine a trailer doing that, but the film should have been a little bit more subtle about it. It shouldn't have just punched you in the face, literally, with the word Creed, answering your own question.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with that. That was one of the lamest moments. It was like the ending to, let's go all the way back to episode 1. Do you remember the ending for Fantastic Four?
Yes, actually, it's like that. I've got a new name for this. Bang! Fantastic Four. And that's such an awful way to end that film.
Yeah, and they start this film like that.
Actually, and there's another line that's exactly the line in Southpaw. The mother is telling Adonis off for boxing and telling him all the bad bits about what happened when Creed used to box. And she says something like, do you know how many times I had to carry him up those stairs? Do you know how many times he couldn't walk? How many times I had to wipe his ass? And it's like almost exactly the same line out of Southpaw. And Southpaw came out a few months ago. You're sort of like, why didn't they just cut that one line? It feels copy and pasted.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I think with Southpaw, they focus too much on the drama, whereas the drama for this is really...
You really liked Southpaw at the time. You really liked Southpaw at the time.
I thought the drama was very, very well executed, but the boxing side of it took the boxing montage was terrible.
Yep.
Almost non-existent. And the like ace up his sleeve, which was switching to Southpaw, was so dumb. That was the issue. So the boxing side of Southpaw was shit. The drama side was, I thought, really well portrayed. Like,
I didn't think the drama. I thought I had that feeling all the way through Southpaw of get on with it, get on with it, get on with it. But in Creed, I loved it.
but you agreed with the Jake Gyllenhaal, Rachel McAdams, and the child, all the relationships and the drama in the family aspect of it was great.
Yeah, but that was the first 15 minutes of the film.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. That was the good part.
Yeah, any film can open strong. It's about maintaining that strongness.
Strongness?
Yeah.
Strength?
No, maintaining that strongness. It's like Rocky maintains his strongness over the series. It's a word.
If you say so.
All right. Final thoughts, I reckon, because we've nitpicked on the tiniest little things.
Yes.
And they're like the only problems I have with this. And
all in all, I had a freaking great time. I loved it. The interactions between Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone, so much fun. Michael B. Jordan's just like, so I'll just move into yours. Yeah, it'd be much easier. And Rocky's just like, okay. And Rocky legitimately looked so sickly when he was going through cancer
by the end
treatment.
of the film. Oh, and like having him walk up the final steps at the end there, in
Yeah.
exactly the same way he did in Rocky, and he can't make it up them almost.
Yeah.
And Creed's pushing him up them essentially. Oh, that was great. That almost brought a tear to my eye.
It was a solid film, start to finish, great pacing, great interactions between everything. And I thought it brought, although it was very similar, almost copy-paste of the Rocky structure and the Rocky storyline, I thought
it's updated.
It was a great way to
Modernized.
update it into the current filming techniques with that one shot that was just mind-blowing.
I can't wait to watch that again. And there are clips of that on YouTube as well. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm going to watch that.
Yeah, but it's not the whole thing, which is, it's like there's more of this. So what was your star rating?
4 stars.
I'm agreeing with you. 4 stars.
High five.
Yeah. Bum, ba, ba, da, ba, ba.
Ba 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 ba.